Today, we are going on a journey. We're going to follow an idea from its very first spark of a question all the way to the delivery of a powerful, persuasive argument. We're going to see exactly how game-changing ideas are built right from the ground up.
So it really all starts with this big question, doesn't it? I mean, we are drowning in information. There's so much noise out there. How on earth do you craft a message that doesn't just get heard, but one that actually sticks? One that changes minds? Okay, let's dive in.
You know, every great argument needs a solid foundation. But before you can even think about persuading someone, you have to figure out what kind of proof you even find convincing. And that whole journey begins with two, well, surprisingly deep questions. What do you believe is real? And how do you think we can know anything for sure?
Okay, don't let the big words scare you. Just think of these two ideas as the basic operating system for your brain. Your ontology, that's your fundamental belief about reality itself. Is there one single objective truth out there, like the temperature in a room? Or is reality a little more complicated depending on who you ask? Then you have your epistemology. That's how you go about finding that truth. Do you grab a thermometer or do you sit down and interview people? That choice, it dictates absolutely everything that follows.
And this is a brilliant way to visualize the whole process. It's called the research onion. Right at the very core, that's your philosophy, your worldview we just talked about. And then every single layer you add on top is a decision that gets you closer to your answer, from your general approach to your grand strategy, right down to the specific tools you're going to use.
All right, so once you've figured out your core philosophy, you get to this massive fork in the road. Are you going to try to understand the world through numbers and measurement? Or are you going to do it through stories and meaning? So you've basically got two different toolkits here. The quantitative path on the left is all about precision. It's for counting things, measuring things, finding statistical patterns. It's asking how many or how much. Now, the qualitative path on the right, that's all about depth. It wants to understand the why behind those numbers by listening to stories and experiences. And look, neither one is better than the other. They're just different lenses for seeing the world.
And this is so important because these two paths grow directly from those philosophical roots we mentioned earlier. Positivism is the engine behind quantitative research. It believes in a single objective reality that we can go out and measure. Interpretivism, on the other hand, is the driving force of qualitative research. It sees reality as subjective, something we all build together, meaning there are multiple truths out there to explore.
Okay, so you've chosen your path. You've collected your raw material. Now for the magic trick, the alchemy. This is where you turn messy data, whether it's a bunch of spreadsheets or hours of interview recordings, into a real, genuine insight. This is where the story starts to bubble up from all that noise. So let's look at one really cool way to find that story in words and narratives.
This is called template analysis, and it's a way to find the hidden structure in qualitative data. Honestly, think of yourself as a detective. First, you just immerse yourself in all the evidence. You're just reading, listening, getting a feel for it all. Then you start tagging clues. That's called coding. Pretty soon, you're grouping those codes into bigger themes, and that creates your first draft, your initial template of what you think the story is. But the real magic happens next, as you test and refine that template, letting the evidence itself push back and correct you, until the final, true story finally clicks into place.
All right, deep breath. You've done the hard work, the investigation is done, and you have your big insight. But here's the thing, an insight that nobody understands is totally useless. The research is only half the battle. Now, we have to switch gears, from finding the truth to sharing it in a way that is clear, logical, and just impossible to ignore. And for that, we have the pyramid principle. Seriously, this thing is a game changer for clear communication. The core idea is kind of radical, but it's so simple. Start with your main point. Don't build up to some big reveal at the end. Give them the answer right at the beginning.
Right at the very top, the peak of the pyramid, is your core message. This is the single most important thing you want your audience to walk away with. If they forget everything else you say and only remember one sentence, what is that sentence? That's it. That's your core message.
Okay, so sitting directly underneath your core message is what we call the key line. These are the main arguments, maybe 2, 3, or 4 of them, that support your big idea. They logically and directly answer the question, okay, why should I believe you?
And at the very bottom, holding the whole thing up, you've got the support. This is your evidence, the facts, the stats, the quotes from your interviews, the analysis you did. Every single claim you make in your key line has to rest on a solid foundation of proof. No proof, no pyramid. Simple as that.
So you've built the perfect argument. It's logical, it's evidence-based, it's structured like a beautiful pyramid. But is anyone going to listen? The final crucial step is making sure your message actually lands with impact, because it's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Here's a number you need to remember: 18. That's the magic number from TED Talks. Why 18 minutes? Because any longer, and you risk something called cognitive backlog. It's a fancy way of saying your audience's brain is full, and they've just stopped listening. Keeping it brief is a way of respecting their attention.
And then you have the classic rule of 3. Our brains are just wired to look for patterns, and 3 is the smallest number of items we need to see a pattern. It's why we say lights, camera, action, not lights, camera, sound, tripod, action. Using 3s just makes your message feel more complete and way more memorable.
All right, now get ready for this one, because it is a toughie. The number is 40. According to TED, that's the absolute maximum number of words you should use across your first 10 slides combined. Wow. This rule forces you, and it's a good thing, to think visually, to use your slides as a backdrop to your story, not a script for you to read from.
So if you boil it all down, the secrets from some of the best presenters on the planet are pretty straightforward. First, be emotional. Connect with passion and personal stories. Second, be novel. Teach your audience something they didn't know before, something that makes them go, huh. And third, be memorable. Use those simple rules, like the 18-minute rule and the rule of 3, and paint pictures with your words.
And for a slightly different take, you have the wisdom of presentation Zen. Its philosophy is all about restraint and simplicity. The key ideas: prepare analog, step away from the computer and plan your story with pen and paper. Design with ruthless simplicity. If it doesn't add value, get rid of it. And finally, when you deliver, be present. Connect with your audience. You are the most powerful visual aid in the room.
So there you have it. We've gone from the very nature of reality all the way to presentation design. You now have the entire toolkit to find an insight, build a rock-solid argument, and deliver it in a way that truly sticks. So the only question left is, what are you going to do with it? What idea will you bring to the world?